Tell me a little bit maybe about today, what's working for some of your customers or clients, or where do you see the people who are crushing it? What are they doing right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it comes down to what we call the experience economy. And the experience economy is having a resurgence right now. It's having a moment.
Yeah.
And what's going on is consumers are looking for unique, interesting, fun things to do. And that's what we're seeing with our existing clients and with a lot of new concepts that are opening up. So, how does that translate into who's doing well and kind of who's kicking ass right now? It's the venues who are creating experiences out of their spaces, right? So you can have a lot of venues have the space there. They've got 20 lanes plus maybe a couple other activities and things like that. But the difference between simply renting space and creating an experience is really big. And I think that's probably one of the key things I'm seeing right now in what separates some of the venues that are having a lot of success and some of the ones that are kind of stuck doing things the old way. And even though it's having its moment right now with experiences, there is some adaptation and some change that's needed for some of these kind of older centers to get with the new program with what consumers expect now. And what does that look like? So that might be creating moments inside of spaces that are like Instagrammable or shareable, how the marketing is told, the marketing story on what you're booking. Are you booking bowling for an hour, or are you booking some experience that you have with your friends or a birthday party, things like that? So the way that story is told is also getting really important in this social media age.
Yeah.
Because that's what people share. They're sharing the experience that they're having or they just had, not renting shoes in a lane for a couple of hours. So that I think is the main thing, and how you tell that story has become really important for some of the centers that are crushing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the story is like the wrapping paper almost of the product. Like you got to put a nice presentation on it, and that's kind of how people convey it or show it.
Yeah, totally. Because look, space is there. You have the space. You have your venue. Now, how do you come up with ways to sell it, right? How do you put, like you said, that wrapping paper on it with a bow and say, hey, this is the experience that you're going to be getting, right? And then showing that proof on social media because you baked in some picturable moments, some viral moments, some ways to share that experience so more people then go and experience that as well. So we're seeing that as a really big difference maker right now. And it doesn't have to be a lot. There has to be some small changes to the way that you're approaching what you're selling and how you're explaining that story.
What do you think makes a really good experience or Instagrammable kind of experience?
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple ways to do it. I mean, one, inside of the space is some venues are just dedicating a certain area, a certain corner that's got an extra oomph, whether it's some wallpaper, whether it's you see the neon signs that have become really popular. Others have focused maybe on one dish, right? One of those dishes that they're kind of known for that is really interesting or picture worthy. It could be a type of cake if it's for kids' birthday parties. So really focusing on what's that one thing, right? And it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a big change to your kitchen operations or anything like that. It just has to be one thing that has a higher chance of being photographed. So that's kind of on the picture and physical side. On the sort of marketing side, it's more about the outcome that you're selling, whether like you're selling your kid's most favorite birthday party, right? Like the party that they'll remember forever. Or if you're selling a corporate event, you might even be selling like productivity of your team, right? Your team camaraderie, right? It's not just like come and have a corporate event. It's like,
is that in the name of the product or in just the pitch?
It's a little bit of both. It can be in the name. It doesn't have to go overboard, but it can be in the pitch too. It can be in some of the graphics, right? It can be in the landing page, right? That says like teams that play together, win together, right? Like you're kind of selling the fact that, okay, your team is coming in and they're going to kick ass because now they're closer together and
right.
Business productivity will be up. There's small changes, but it's a framing thing, especially on the marketing side, that I think is super relevant. So these changes, they do compound, they make a difference over time for sure.
Yeah. So you think it's like you multiply them all out and one or two of them increase, it multiplies out for the whole thing kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get a couple more experiences sold and that gets shared, that translates to more. right? So you try
Right.
and have to build something in there that gets more people to book and then more people to share it.
So you're suggesting then, so maybe for some of these centers is like pick one of your products and turn that into an experience, really play up the visual appeal of it, and then make sure that some kind of big benefit is baked in, like the productivity one, for instance.
It's a great way to recap it. Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, to kind of tie it into action items so it's not overwhelming. It's like, yeah, choose out of all the things that you offer, create one package that's like your kick-ass offer. This is the one that's, you come up with that cool name, come up with the graphic. This is the one that the kids love. Like, we see like gold, silver, platinum. That's pretty common, but like doesn't really say anything. So how can we spin this and kind of Gen Z it or make it a little bit more modern so that we're selling that experience? And then inside the venue, like I said earlier, is there one other thing that we can add? A menu item or an area that then takes this thing up a notch. Now you've got a complete package that is an experience.
Right. And now, do you think there's a limit to that? Is it just like keep it one and only do one and do that the best, or is there room for 2 or 3? Or
yeah, I totally think there's room. I just think crawl before you walk. Yeah, right. Start, get it down, see what works, see what doesn't, and then you can kind of create these experiences for each target audience that you have. So yeah, that's another thing I wanted to highlight. It's, again, we're selling the same space here, but who are you selling it to? The marketing for a kid's birthday party where you're speaking to a parent is quite different than a corporate director who's looking for a team building or event or something like that. So being able to have specific links or packages or pages that speak to each of these audiences, I think is super important. And kind of goes back to the flexibility that I talked about earlier with Rex. And like, we want to be able to provide venues those options. Hey, this is the link to your corporate events package. This is the link to your birthday party packages. They take up to the same amount of lanes, but they're speaking to different people.
Right. So almost, you could have one per avatar.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.